Everybody, welcome back to another episode of the Atlantic Files, the number one podcast on the number one division in the NBA, brought to you by the Underdog Sports Podcast Network. As always, joined by your hosts, myself, Alex Fishbein, we got Dennis Clausen, and we welcome back Alec Walt. What's going on?
Appreciate you guys having me on. What's going on, guys?
Nothing much.
Welcome my choice. Don't thank me.
I mean, for Dennis and I, the NBA hasn't been as fun as it was when our teams were still in the playoffs.
Well, to be fair, it wasn't much fun for me when the Nets were in the playoffs.
I couldn't imagine being a Nets fan and finding that first series very entertaining. I mean, man, 4 games. I think you guys give us at least a few more than that.
Have you ever had your prostate checked?
No.
Hemorrhoid anything?
No.
All right. Well, if you can imagine what that feels like, times 10 being a Nets fan.
I was wondering exactly where that was headed.
I was like, wow, both those sounds absolutely terrible. And now I know it now. Oh, my God.
Well, when you're nearing the 40 years old mark like I am, these things become a reality. And I found myself, while watching Nets games, I would rather have a prostate exam again.
Oh, man.
That's just sad to know
Do you see a smile on my face? Does this look like a guy who's joking around? Absolutely
I'm just saying
not.
that's just sad to know that that's the case when you have Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving.
Well, it's not Kevin Durant that's the problem. It's that other one. But
I mean,
And one of your other stars isn't playing.
Well, don't. Are you referring to Ben Simmons, Alec?
I am.
All right. Well, for one, don't say one of our stars because he hasn't even played for the team yet. He's not. I don't even consider him on the roster. I don't consider. I don't give him any blame for not playing. He's got emotional issues that cause his back to flare up from his time in Philly. So he came home to Brooklyn, and now he's just going to be coddled, Steve, it's just that's how it goes. He's got to get the breastfed a little bit. Titty's got to come out. He's got to get some milk. He'll be fine.
I'm convinced that Ben Simmons for you guys is like Al Horford was for the Sixers, just a spy from the other team. They're just like Al Horford on the Sixers.
I can't believe he was a Sixer.
The Monstars took his talent the moment he went to Philly. And then the moment he came back to Boston, it was like, boom, Al Horford's like starting in the finals again. And then Ben Simmons, for you guys, is just kind of like, I'll just sit here and watch. Just see what you guys are doing.
No, I think it's a smart thing to do at the end of the day, though, was to not rush him into action, especially when they were talking about him playing in Game 4. That would have been his first appearance of the season. Are you nuts? You're going to throw this guy out in Game 4 of a postseason coming off an emotional breakdown and a back injury?
Yeah, that doesn't make sense.
Yeah, unless you guys were in the finals, he wasn't returning.
No, that's for sure. But before we get into the Celtics' whole journey from where they started to where they are now,
talk about the Brooklyn Nets anymore.
Trust me, I don't either.
Good, makes 2 of us.
I just want to talk about, since it's fresh on a lot of people's minds, the series that they just played, Celtics versus the Miami Heat. So, Alec, from your point of view, I just want to know what went right, what went wrong. Obviously, they won, so enough went right for that to happen. And then after that, we'll talk about Jimmy Butler's shot, because a lot of people are in disagreement whether that was the right or the wrong play. So, what do you think, Alec?
Yeah, I mean, even as someone who is a fan of the team that won the series, this was not a very good Eastern Conference Finals. I mean, don't let some of the final scores fool you in some of these matchups. It really wasn't the greatest series. I mean, we didn't have many games that were tight in the fourth quarter. There were a lot of moments during the series where even in halves or in games, one team completely dominated over the other. It's just the Celtics had more success in game 7. And, I mean, game 7 was probably like the Heat almost came back and won the series. But, like, for example, in game 1, the Celtics were freezing cold. The Heat stormed back, won the series. I'm looking at some of the scores right now. I mean, 11-point game, 25-point game, 20-point game, 13-point game, 8-point game. I mean, normally you see those a lot tighter in a matchup, but it was an incredibly odd series, a tough series. The Heat are still a very good team, even though some of Butler's supporting cast members clearly were not at 100%. But obviously, I'm happy the Celtics won, but this is not going to be an Eastern Conference Finals to remember that'll go down in the history books as one people will never forget. Like, I couldn't wait till it was over because I couldn't wait to see a different opponent. It was not a very good series.
Yeah, I mean, I was just surprised that all of a sudden it was like Miami was able to put up tons of points. The next game, their starters combined had 18 points.
Yeah.
It was just like, what exactly happened from that game to the next game?
Yeah, we saw a lot of different versions of all of the teams involved. And like, I know with the Warriors being the next matchup, if the Celtics go in a stretch where they go pretty much an entire quarter scoring like was the third quarter of the game like that, they will get smoked in this upcoming series against the Warriors. They need to be way more consistent offensively, but I just saw waves from both sides that were like, it was just a very weird series to watch. And thank God the Celtics won it because now they're going to the finals, but not your typical Eastern Conference Finals here in 22.
Yeah, seriously. Dennis, what do you think? By the way, Dennis, I forgot to say, I like the new glasses. Did you need glasses? Are these like blue light glasses? Did you need glasses now? Like, where'd those come from?
No, I want to just get another pair.
Oh, okay.
They're fresh cut.
Yep, of course.
Beard
Always
trim,
have to have a fresh cut.
Tan, glasses, got the sweet Oakleys. Big Sexy. That's where the name comes from.
It all makes sense.
Yeah. So anyways, but thank you though.
Mm-hmm.
So the Heat absolutely, both of these teams didn't really play the best. Both dealt with tons of injuries, significant injuries. The Heat more so for they had a longer list of guys who were out. Tucker was banged up. Tyler Hero had the groin injury, missed 3 games. Williams with that ailing left knee of his. Lowry with that hamstring. Smart with the ankle. Gabe Vincent was on the injury report. Max Strus, like everybody was on the injury report. So both teams were banged up. I can't really say that the only reason the Celtics won is because the Heat were injured. Because let's be honest here. The same thing I've been saying since last year when the Heat got Kyle Lowry, that he's what? My famous expression, he's street clothes. Kyle Lowry is street clothes. When people thought that Kyle Lowry was going to be a difference maker, I want to go back and listen because we said the guy's hurt constantly, and this is exactly what happened. He had like one good game during the series. The rest of the game, he was running around like a buffoon holding his hamstring the entire time.
He was on the ground a lot.
He looked like complete garbage. So my whole takeaway from all this now is once the season's over, what's going to happen with the Heat? When you listen to, and getting back, we'll get back to the shot in a minute too, because we have some, but the Heat, there's been a lot of weird stuff going on. Joel Embiid seems kind of infatuated with, he sent that tweet out about the Heat needing more players, and he seems to have this kind of love thing going on with Jimmy Butler, who's playing for another team. Butler didn't look the happiest guy in the world. He took on a lot of minutes. Game 7, I've never seen anybody play that amount of time consistently. And if it weren't for him, the Heat wouldn't have even been anywhere close to. So Jimmy Butler could take credit for everything. Nobody in the rest of the Heat. Bam Adebayo played like complete dog shit. The guy needs to be traded. One game. I mean, but that's the guy who's supposed to be the number 2 option for the Heat, and he played like complete dog shit. They need to get rid of him. They need to get rid of Lowry, and they need to make a deal to bring in somebody. So, I mean, I was reading stuff about, Donovan Mitchell possibly now linked to the Heat. They got to get rid of Tyler Hero, of course, for that to happen. Perfect. Make it happen.
Do it. I'm about to say I wouldn't hesitate.
As far as the shot goes, I mean, 6 in one hand, half dozen the other. I mean, if he would have drove and missed, they say he had a bunch of space to shoot a 3. I think Horford was the guy who was guarding him, if I remember correctly. Can anybody confirm that? No?
I think,
okay.
I think it was.
So I believe, honestly, it was either Horford or Grant Williams or one of those guys just backing up. He had a bunch of space, so he took a shot. He was in the moment. For some reason, though, Jimmy Butler was relying on the deep ball throughout a lot of this series. I don't know what the hell that was about. He's not the best three-point shooter, but for some reason he fell in love with it. But honestly, when he had to take on more than he should have had to take on, especially when, like I said, Bam's playing like complete ass. Tyler Hero's nutsack fell off, and Kyle Lowry everybody sucks on that team except for Jimmy Butler.
I mean, like you said about Tyler Hero getting shipped out of there. I mean, he also, I forget if it was the post game or his exit interview, whatever it was. He was like, "Well, yeah, I think I should be starting next year," and so on and so forth. It's like, I mean,
he's an incredibly talented 6th man, and if they're going to get Jimmy Butler a star now, and it looks like it's not in free agency, I feel like the time is now to move him.
True. I completely agree.
Because you could package him to Lowry's contract at this point is a net negative. I don't think they're going to be trading Kyle Lowry to get something. I mean, I don't even know what equal value would be because of how large his contract is and his production really isn't matching.
My garbage man would be equal.
I know, if I could package Bam with a young player like a Hero and go after like a star, dude, if they could get Mitchell for that, I know Gobert makes that trade difficult because they're both centers. Oh my God, I wouldn't even hesitate if I was Riley and company. Absolutely would not hesitate. If I could get Donovan Mitchell today, I'd get rid of anyone on the roster.
Honestly, in my head too, I wouldn't mind if they say they traded like Bam for Gobert, get Gobert to be their defensive anchor, and then on top of that, take Hero and Lowry and maybe a pick, and then go get like Levine.
Yeah, I mean, that's a lot.
I mean, that's a big stretch.
Mitchell Mitchell compets what the Heat want to do.
True.
He'll play defense. He'll create his own shot. He'll give Jimmy Butler some space. He'll provide them, heck, at times, a number 1 scoring option. I mean, it's 1A, 1B at that point. True. But, dude, there's no way Jimmy Butler can play the way he played towards the end of that series. I mean, I am happy the Celtics won, obviously, but it's unfortunate to see that that's how Jimmy's season ended. Like, as just a genuine basketball fan, like, seeing him play all 48 minutes, seeing him carry this team. Like, I said the same thing about Giannis in the last series. Because when they didn't have Chris Middleton, and it was basically him and Drew Holiday, and then, Celtics basically shut down Grayson Allen for the final couple games, and, some of the other role players really didn't produce that well. You saw Giannis have a near statistical record-breaking performance. I think he did. I can't remember what the numbers were. And they got sent home. Yeah. So
I mean, here's the thing with all that though. Giannis is 14, so he could play, plenty of minutes. He hasn't even reached puberty yet. Jimmy Butler, on the other hand, is 30, going to be 31. And when you get north of 30, things start going downhill, man. Yeah.
I mean, especially with the wear and tear on Jimmy Butler from the Tibbs days and all the way up until now. That man's been playing a lot.
in all fairness, Jimmy Butler has spent enough time not playing than he has playing, so his body shouldn't be as. I mean, he played 48 minutes, fine, but that's what you fucking brought the guy in for, was to win a championship. If you're going to play 48 minutes, this is the time to do it.
That's the game to do it too.
Exactly.
You needed every single minute of Jimmy Butler to win that. If Jimmy Butler sat on the bench, it would not have been a 4-point game. Even though the game shouldn't have been a 4-point game, the Celtics let him come back.
Oh yeah.
In the final 2 minutes of the game.
Anytime Butler was on the bench, especially like even in the Sixers series, that was usually when the Sixers started killing the Heat because they had no one producing on offense, especially in those games that were, the Heat were really struggling against the Celtics as well. Jimmy Butler was still the only guy producing anything because, hell, the Heat paid Duncan Robinson, like $90 million, and he barely sniffed court time the whole postseason?
Yeah, he had no role. I mean, I didn't watch every game in the series before this one for the Heat, but he was a non-factor. I mean, there were a couple games he may hit a three-er there, but, I wasn't watching a game or going through a game thinking, man, Duncan Robinson's play really impacted the final score.
Well, let me tell you something there, Alec. I don't have a wife, and I literally watched every Heat game this postseason. And non-factor would be giving him too much credit. If there was a term for less than a non-factor, that's where Duncan Robinson would line up. He absolutely sucks.
That's crazy.
I mean, that's the thing, and what I was alluding to with Tyler Hero too is that it's all well and good. They can shoot, they can produce some offense, but neither of them have any business being on the defensive end of the court. I mean, that was how the Sixers, even in the regular season and everything, won their games against Miami, is they hunted the mismatch of Tyler Hero. The only reason it didn't work out as much in the postseason is because they figured out, hey, let's match Tyler Hero with Matisse and let Tyler Hero just play defense on Matisse because he's not producing any offense either. So they didn't have to suffer in that matchup as much as they did in the regular season. But when you go up against the Celtics, who they can score from anywhere on the floor. I mean, Grant Williams had, 27 points in the Game 7 against Milwaukee?
Yep.
So they can really score with anybody. So now Tyler Hero, Duncan Robinson, those kind of guys, they're a net negative out there because they're not putting up 20 to 30 points, and they're giving up 20 points on the other end.
And here's another alarming question that I have. Where the fuck was Victor Oladipo?
True.
Yeah.
And, you're going to give minutes to Max Strus. Okay, Max Strus was at the 2 all season. I get it. But you're giving the bench minutes to Gabe Vincent. Gabe Vincent can play well, but there's games where he also doesn't play well. Victor Oladipo is a guy who, had he not gotten hurt, it has been a fantastic player. You're telling me if you can throw Kyle Lowry's hobbled ass on the floor that you can't throw Victor Oladipo on the floor? Any day of the week, I would have rather had Victor Oladipo on the floor instead of Tyler Hero.
I mean, Oladipo had a big series against the Sixers.
Yeah.
If it wasn't for Oladipo, they made it past the Hawks because Butler had that knee inflammation. He couldn't play. But Oladipo comes in and saves the day. Helps the Heat advance. And you're telling me with the way Bam Adebayo played like complete shit, you can't put Victor Oladipo in there? You know what I mean?
They couldn't find anyone to take over that role as a second scorer. I mean, I thought it was going to be Oladipo the whole series, but I feel like I saw way too many Kyle Lowry minutes. I mean, obviously, I'm happy they won, but he was on the court for way too long. That was just a weird. And the other thing, sorry to interrupt you. He played way too many players. One of the things the Celtics did that I think completely changed their season was that they shrunk their bench. They gave certain guys certain roles, and it kind of just set the roster. Then they improved it at the deadline when they realized they actually looked like they could do something about, 2 or 3 weeks before the deadline. But I know obviously the injuries affected some of the lineups they could put out there, but he was going 9 guys plus deep some of these games, and it looked like Spoelstra almost didn't know who to put on the court.
I mean, sometimes all you need is 9 deep.
Oh my god,
Alec, but here's the thing, man. All right, you're a great guy, great look to you, love the hair, everything. Here's the thing: the Celtics don't have a deep bench.
Well, I know they were playing too many players that shouldn't have been playing. That was the problem.
Outside of Grant Williams and Derek White, all right, so those are probably your 2 top bench options. After that, you have Peyton Pritchard and then maybe Daniel Tice. After that, there ain't shit on that bench. So luckily, everybody on that team is just graduated from high school, 2 months ago. So they have the capability to play all these minutes. But thank God they got Derek White, because if they didn't have Derek White, they would have been effed, because Marcus Smart cannot stay healthy to save his life.
White's been huge. Also, I think we're seeing the best version of him these last couple games against the Heat. He's been playing really good basketball right now.
Yeah, he kind of shot like shit though in the game 7. So or one of those games he just, I mean, he's got a bad ankle, but whatever. But he
got elbowed in the head.
Yeah, he's fine. Yeah. But the thing with Marcus Smart is that he's the kind of guy who does that. One game he can go off and be, drained from 3 and blah, blah, blah. Next game he just does nothing.
That's true. But the one thing
so he better be healthy.
I was about to say, that's huge for them in this series. But the one thing I was going to say is sometimes I think people kind of overrate the whole depth situation. Like, people talked about, Miami had 10 plus people that could play during the regular season and all that. But when it comes to the postseason, all rotations shorten, and it's your best 7, maybe 8 people. That's really all it comes down to. And I think that the Miami Heat's depth got overhyped because they played the Sixers, who had 0 depth. They literally just had the starters and nobody else. And everyone was like, the Miami Heat, they're so deep, all this kind of stuff. And it's like, well, yeah, when you play a team that literally can only score if they have a starter in or multiple starters in, then yeah, you're always going to look a lot deeper than that team. But with the Celtics, like you just said, yeah, you have Grant Williams, you have Derek White. I mean, even Pritchard and Tice can give you quality minutes in a 2 to 3 minute spurt. So that depth in and of itself is perfectly fine in the finals, in the playoffs, everything. Because, I mean, you even look at Golden State, they're not going all the way down to Moses Moody all the time or anything like that. They're pretty much shortening theirs to about 7-8 people as well, and they're getting to the finals plenty of times on top of that. So the depth whole argument, I think, just sometimes gets a little overused.
But if the Celtics are in foul trouble, they're going to be in a lot of trouble in this series.
True.
Well, the thing with go ahead. Sorry, honey.
When you get to if you're having Pritchard play 20 plus minutes per game, I mean, with that backcourt, have fun.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing, though, with the Warriors, though. As a Warrior, they do have a deep bench, and they do have a quality bench, all right? So even if you get past the Jordan Pooles of the world, okay, so he's the top bench option, blah, blah, blah. Once you get past him, you can, if Looney doesn't start and he comes off the bench, he's capable of getting rebounds. Kuminga can pick things up. Moody can get it going. Gary Payton, when he's hopefully he's back, but he's capable on the defensive end. The Warriors are so capable of playing all these different lineups because their bench is so deep, and it's not just a deep bench, it's one of the best benches in the league. It's a quality bench. The Celtics do not have that whatsoever. The part of the Warriors' appeal in them being a good team is they can put out so many different scenarios. Otto Porter, Belizia, when Belizia plays, he's a capable offensive option. So the Warriors are way deeper, but it's quality depth that they're better in that area.
No, yeah, I mean that like they actually do have a very good deep bench. My main thing was just that usually in the playoffs you're not going that far in the bench, whether it's a good bench or not.
Yeah, but sometimes you gotta go deep in that bench, man, because if you don't, some of your guys are gonna get worn out.
No, that's true.
And I think the Heat's issue is that they were, like Alec alluded to, the Heat were just really hurt, and PJ Tucker, he played 17 minutes in Game 7. He was battling a calf injury throughout most of the postseason. Then he had a knee thing flare up. So, losing a guy like him who's so versatile and can play so many different positions, including going in the center when they play small. I mean, nobody shoots the corner three better than PJ Tucker.
That's true. No, yeah. I mean, I definitely agree on all points. So
of course you do. Well, fucking genius.
With the Celtics, I mean, I don't know if I'm going to go that far, but with the Celtics, we were talking about this right before we went live. Our last episode that Alec was on with us, we were pretty much it was doomsday, Boston, everything. It was we have to trade at least one of Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown. You got to bring in a bunch of people. You got to get rid of Marcus Smart, so on and so forth. Now they're in the finals. I got to ask Alec, did you, even in your wildest dreams, did you really think that it was going to end up in the finals? Even getting past like the first, second round of the playoffs. And what do you think really was the turning point for this season?
So at the beginning of the year, I thought this team was pretty much done. I didn't think they had really that it factor. They kind of, at times I was watching a team that just showed up and, didn't really take those extra steps to win. And I watch them, you just watch a lot of iso ball. You saw Smart taking low percentage shots, Tatum kind of being the whole offense and dribbling 14 out of the 24 seconds and kind of taking a low percentage shot. And, the defense had a lot of holes in it. They weren't switching clean. They weren't playing great basketball. I was watching a team where Ime Udoka would put in a lot of players who shouldn't have been playing. I mean, there were lineups with, the Langford and the Neesmith and the Peyton Pritchard. Between the three of them, they didn't get consistent minutes, and you didn't know which one of them was going to get the minutes in a specific game. And, we had undefined roles. It was just an ugly-looking team. And then all of a sudden, we got closer to the deadline. We heard the rumors that this team could possibly get broken up, and that's when we really saw a different version of the team on the court. We saw Ime coach differently. He shrunk his bench, which was great because he gave Pritchard most of the minutes between the young guards. And, they would play Dennis Schroeder, and he would be playing for his next contract instead of helping the team win. Josh Richardson was actually productive. It was tough to see him go, but obviously it was because we were getting Derek White. The team started passing the ball, moving the ball offensively. They started committing to their roles defensively. Al Horford had a huge reason for that, specifically on the defensive end. And then Brad Stevens looked at this team starting to get hot at the right time and bought Derek White and also, Daniel Tice at the trade deadline. He shrunk his bench, had a solid 8-9 man rotation that started to gel after a couple months. And next thing you know, the Celtics were the hottest team in the Eastern Conference. I mean, it was weird. At the beginning of the season, I thought Ime was one of the worst coaches in the NBA. And in the final 2/3 or so of the season, I thought Ime was the NBA coach of the year. And it wasn't exactly his fault. I do think the roster was extremely flawed. He had, again, like I mentioned before, he was looking at his bench, and he had Schroeder and Pritchard and Neesmith and Langford, and he didn't have a backup center because they were starting two big guys. And Enes Freedom wasn't getting much minutes because when he was on the court, he really wasn't doing very much. And Grant Williams was asked to shoot a lot more, and when he was missing shots, he was getting pulled. And it was a mess. When they went away from their starters, it was an absolute mess. And when Ime called the team out, when he shrunk the bench and Brad added to it, that's when we saw a different looking Boston Celtics team. We started to see, all the things click together. The star, the coach, the GM, the bench, a lot of things started to click together at the right time. And, injuries did help, which is why the Celtics are here. What's his name? Chris Middleton. Right. Not 100% with some of the other stars on the Heat, but, a lot of things needed to change. The stars needed to be stars. Smart needed to play good defense and not take 300 three-point shots per game. I'm hearing about a lot of inmate calling out the star players. It needed to happen, and it all happened at the right time for them to be doing what they're doing right now. So it's been a roller coaster, to say the least, from the 11th seed to the NBA Finals, but the Celtics manned up when they needed to, and the timing could not have been better for the result of right now.
I will say two things real quick before I go to you, Dennis. I'm pretty sure Marcus Smart was one of the ones that also called out Tatum and Brown like halfway through the season or something. He was talking about how they're not passing the ball. He was calling
out, and he had 0 assists that game, so that stirred a couple people's feathers there. But no, he wasn't wrong. I mean, there were way too many instances where last year one of the biggest problems I had with the Celtics was ball movement and defense. A lot of people questioned, should they trade Smart? And I was like, well, he's technically your ball handler, even though obviously the offense runs through Brown and Tatum, but he's still a good defensive player. So that's why I think Derek White made a ton of sense, because he was a good passer. He was a good defender. I mean, obviously he's not a knockdown shooter all the time. There are games where he will go cold, but he makes winning plays, and the only thing it did was help this team for the final couple months of the season.
True. That's very true. And then the other thing I was going to add was just the whole Ime Udoka thing, because in the beginning, when we made our predictions, I actually predicted Ime Udoka in the beginning of the year for Coach of the Year. And like halfway through, Dennis and Mike were like, yeah, get the fuck out of here. Like, look at your prediction now. They're not even in the playoffs. They're not even in the play-in game. And now that we've gotten here, I keep bringing up every episode. I was like, remember when I said he was going to be Coach of the Year?
He has a huge reason to why they turn things around.
Oh, he's been great. Obviously the beginning was rough, yeah, but no, like you said, once that roster changed, once the bench shortened, he's drawn up some plays and drawn up some defensive schemes that I'm like, damn, this is big time.
Yeah.
But Dennis, what do you think?
Well, unlike you guys, I thought the entire time that there should have never been any trades on the Boston Celtics. I thought the entire time that they should have kept the team intact, that they were fine just the way they are, and I was right. So, I mean, they didn't.
Wait. Let me go back in our YouTube real quick and see the exact episode where you're like, the only way they're gonna make the playoffs is if they trade for Bradley Beal.
I don't remember that. Bradley Beal, you kidding me?
Wasn't he hurt before the deadline?
Yes, he was.
Yeah, but this was before he was hurt.
Yeah.
Well, before he was hurt, but this was before February. So that's
right.
Beal had his surgery in February. Am I saying that right? February. That's when he had his surgery. All right. So at the time they looked like dog shit, and you can't blame me for it. All right?
No, they did.
But here's the whole thing. All right. Just like you said, Alex with an X. The only reason they got their shit together is when Marcus Smart called them all out. That's why you got to have a guy like that around. All right. Marcus Smart's like, listen, assholes, we're playing like dog shit. All right. And I kind of think too that Jaylen Brown finally realized, okay, I'm not as good as Jason Tatum is. All right, I think somewhere along the line, he got it in his head that he was as good as Jason Tatum is. When you hear all the people talking about Jaylen Brown, he's great. Jaylen Brown is good, better than good. He's not Jason Tatum.
Yep, nope.
And when you start letting Jason Tatum do his thing, like he did in the postseason, throughout this entire postseason, because if you notice, if you look at Jaylen Brown's stats, he hasn't been a consistent producer for the Celtics throughout the postseason. There's been some games where you really don't get a lot out of him. I think when, know your role, that's that applies to Jason or Jaylen Brown because you got to hand the keys over to Daddy and let Daddy do his work, and you are there to support him. All right, not everybody can be the star. Jaylen Brown, you're not the star of the team. Jason Tatum's the star. Marcus Smart realized it. Al Horford, there are games he goes cold, but it's not because of lack of ability. He just knows his role. So
I mean,
Jason Tatum.
Jaylen Brown is probably one of, if not the best second option in the league. Because, I don't count, Kyrie and KD, I don't count one as the second option. That's more 1A, 1B. But Jaylen Brown, as I would say, is, one of the best second options in the whole league. But I don't think Jaylen Brown could have anywhere near as much success as Jason Tatum as a number one option for a team.
Well, that's
you're saying, I agree. Jason Tatum is up here. Jaylen Brown is a little bit down here.
When you're coming into the season, though, right, ad nauseum, you heard Jaylen Brown. Everybody was raving about Jaylen Brown, right? It's going to be Tatum, and I honestly think somewhere he got that in his head that he is just as good as Jason Tatum, and I think if finally he came to his senses and he realized, okay, Jason Tatum is by far, and I'm not just talking about a little bit, I'm talking about a lot of bit. He's a way better player than Jaylen Brown is. So once they got that shit figured out, it should be known, too, moving forward, whatever happens to Jaylen Brown or whoever comes to that team, that this is Jason Tatum's team for the next, how old's the guy? 23, 24, 25?
25,
I think he's
24,
25.
25.
Okay,
Yeah,
so the next 10 years, this is Jason Tatum's team.
Yeah.
All right, so if you're coming here, you're following the line. Last thing is if the Celtics win, they need to send a ring to Budenholzer because he played George Hill like a complete fucking idiot.
Oh, my God. I still can't get over it. And, that was the other thing I wanted to say because Alec brought up Nesmith. Was it the Bucks series or the Heat series that Nesmith randomly got 2 minutes of playing time and had 2 blocks, a bucket?
I think that was game 1.
Yeah, I just, for some reason, that was when I turned the game on and Nesmith was in, and all of a sudden he was going off. I was like, hold on, what the hell am I watching right now? But
Bizarro world.
But to Dennis's point too, what? George Hill? Come on, of all people, I'd rather put in fucking Jason Kidd right now. Jason Kidd,
Coach Kidd.
And you gotta throw the F-bomb in there because that's the only way to emphasize how ridiculous it is.
Exactly.
The guy George Hill wasn't playing for over a month because of his abdominal strain, and then all of a sudden he comes back. The guy's 48 years old, and you're going to throw him in to play 20 minutes. You got Javon Carter sitting there with his thumb up his ass on the bench, who had been playing well in defensive scenarios. Grayson Allen playing like dog shit. Couldn't make a three to save his life. Middleton, fucking guy's hurt all the time. The Celtics need to send a ring to Coach Bud. Maybe send one to George Hill. Maybe send one to Chris Middleton for not playing, and for George Hill for just playing like that. I don't know what the Bucks' infatuation is with George Hill to begin with. For some reason, they can't let that guy not be on the roster.
He was on the Sixers, and then the Sixers let him go, and then they got him instantly. I was like,
right.
No idea why. Of all people.
It was like the girl in college. You know what I mean? The guys are like, yeah, we got to get him back or her back. I don't know what the fuck going on. Who cares? Next.
I will say, so my new favorite thing about the NBA playoffs from the Celtics Heat series, this whole thing with Udonis Haslem about how he said he hasn't recovered from the loss. And he's rethinking what he wants to do with the rest of his career and whatever it may be. But I'm like, what have you not recovered from? You didn't play. You didn't do anything. Like, I even underneath the quote I saw, it was like he averaged 2.9 points per game in 13 games played throughout the season. I'm like, so what exactly are you thinking about here, and why can't you recover from this loss? It makes no sense.
I don't think Haslem has been on the floor in 4 years.
Yeah,
It
I
definitely
keep
doesn't
forgetting
feel
he's
like it.
on the roster.
Right. I feel like he should be listed as like special assistant coach or something, like not a player.
But he probably
because...
gets more money as the player getting the minimum.
Oh yeah, probably does. And I mean, I guess
like, I'll take it.
I guess from like a GM standpoint, it's like, do you want a 15th player on the end of the bench who's not doing anything, or maybe Haslem to just like yell at some guys and be like kind of the coach's like bodyguard kind of guy?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But here's the thing with Haslem, all right. He does have a lot of value when it comes to keeping people in check, blah, blah, blah.
True.
However, I mean, if he's seriously contemplating about what he wants to do with the rest of his career, okay, you're in Miami, right? There's no better place in the United States to be than in Miami. The weather's great all year round, except for hurricane season, but I would take that anyway. And you're making $1 trillion to just sit there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, if you can continue that role, why stop? Until they tell you we're not giving you a contract, just keep being the 15th man on their bench.
Exactly.
That sounds like a shit gig.
Or I feel like Miami would be perfectly fine hiring him as like a player development or an assistant coach or literally anything.
He is a culture guy.
Exactly.
He has defined every Heat era since he's been on the team.
Oh, yeah.
Just be an organization, I don't know, like you said.
Yeah.
You know, teach kids when they come to Miami the Heat way. Like, they're underdogs all the time. You know, they find the second round undrafted players to fill out the roster all the time.
Yep.
It's impressive what the Heat have done.
True. No, it is. I mean, they're always a very well put together team.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, Haslem is definitely a big part of. I mean, there was the part when Haslem, Spo, and Butler were all like yelling at each other, and Haslem just kind of got like Butler in line, and then everything was fine. What were you gonna say, Dennis?
I was going to say there are guys in this country where their job every day is to go work an assembly line, and you need to put a screw in a lawnmower wheel. That's your job, 40 hours a week. And you get paid $3 an hour to fucking do it. This guy's in Miami, and he sits there and he's got a courtside seat to an NBA game, and you got to rethink that?
He's getting paid the veteran minimum, which is like what?
Millions.
I think they're over 2.
Well,
No.
at
Yeah,
his
something
rate,
like that.
at his rate, it's a lot.
Yeah.
There's guys who wake up and shovel cow shit. You got to stick your hand up a cow's ass to deliver a calf, and this guy's rethinking his career.
And there's no way he actually is like doing sprints in practice. He's definitely just like chilling at practice, not doing anything.
He's not doing a thing.
His minimum salary is $2.64 million.
Which is crazy.
What is he considering? That's a great yearly salary.
I know.
Because if he becomes a coach, it's like $700. Don't assistant coaches don't make 2 point. Well, the main ones might. Like the head
assistant coaches make hundreds of thousands, and I think at the most.
It says, this is from 2019. NBA assistant coach salaries range from $100,000 to about $1 million.
Okay.
So on the max
no.
end,
I'm about to say like basically the head coaches that are recently fired but took a role in another coaching staff. Those are probably more of the higher end ones.
Right. But so on the higher end of those, they make less than what he's making right now.
Yeah,
so
like
again, why would you give that up?
Not to knock any guys whose job though is to put a screw on a lawnmower wheel on an assembly line.
Oh, we weren't.
We need them too.
We definitely need them.
Oh yeah.
So the last thing about the conference finals, I
I
just
don't
wanted
even
to know
if
what.
that's a real job, by the way.
I mean, by this point, it's probably like machines that do it, but
Because
it definitely used to be a job.
They're taking over. That's why.
Pretty much. Last thing about conference finals, I just wanted to know what you guys thought about the new conference finals MVP awards. I think it's the Larry Bird Award and the Magic Johnson Award now. The winners of it were Tatum for the Celtics and Steph Curry for the Warriors. I think it's a pretty cool idea to at least give another MVP for like a different part than just the regular season or the finals. I don't know. I've heard
like
some
most
people say it's
sports-
dumb. So
I know baseball does it,
okay.
where they just say, ALCS MVP or NLCS MVP. I mean, obviously, you're attaching names like Larry Bird and Magic Johnson to it, who are two of the best players to ever, play the game. So, I mean, I don't have a problem with it. Obviously, you're highlighting someone who is a huge reason to why their team advanced to the finals.
True.
And obviously, hearing that it's going to Tatum and it's called the Larry Bird Trophy, you're not going to hear too many complaints from yours truly. But, I mean, I don't have any problem with the league handing a trophy to someone or highlighting an individual player for their performance to lead a team to the finals.
I mean, if the league really had balls, they would name one the Kwame Brown Trophy and the Greg Oden Trophy, like something like that.
For the most injured person during the year?
That would be fine. I would love that award. If we could give
Anthony
out
Davis would win like 7 years in a row.
hands
Yeah,
down,
probably.
easily.
But yeah, no, I think it's a good idea too. So let's move on. So
Good, 'cause
NBA Finals.
I don't care about those things.
Okay.
I thought you were going to say, "Oh, Dennis, what do you think?" And then I was going to say, "I don't," because I don't care.
Well, I figured that's what you meant when you said there should be a Greg Oden trophy too.
All right. All right.
The finals. Obviously, it is Celtics versus the Warriors. Before we get into our predictions, which we will wrap up the show with, there's been a lot of talk about Steph Curry. If he wins the finals, if he doesn't win the finals, how does that affect his legacy? I've heard some people on ESPN, I think it was like Legler or something like that, and he said that, I think it was Legler. They said that Steph Curry needed to win and win Finals MVP to even be considered anywhere in the top conversation. Anything else, even if they won and he didn't win Finals MVP, like he can't be considered like top point guard or top guard or anything.
I mean,
I just want to know your guys'
no matter
thoughts on that.
what happens in this upcoming series, Steph Curry's still going to be looked at as a generational talent. Steph Curry's still going to be looked at as the greatest shooter of all time, and I can only imagine what his three-point shot numbers will look like towards the end of his career. I mean, he's been in the playoffs multiple times. He's won championships even without someone like Kevin Durant on his team. He was on a team that was drafted and developed in a core together for a good chunk of his career. I mean, this guy changed the way teams are built with the importance of three-point shooting. Yes, a lot of his teammates are just based on making everyone, because I know Kelly Oubre made the point. It was just like, if you may have to play a certain way instead of being like a top option on that team. You guys remember him saying that before he went to Charlotte? He was saying like some people are on the team to set screens and do all the other plays to help those two score, and it shows a lot for the type of player he is. He's a dominant. He's small, well coached, been with the same team his whole career. And I think that's a huge thing to mention in this era because everyone moves. LeBron's played for 3 teams. Kevin Durant's played for 3 teams as well. Kawhi, wow, again, 3 teams. It's the reality of the league right now. And he's stayed in one city. He's contended in one city his whole career. And, nothing makes me, unless, things happen in free agency. I know some of the big players' contracts are soon to be expiring. Nothing, what makes you think they won't be back? there's a real chance that Steph can go back to the finals. I know, what happens with some of the star players on the Lakers this year. How does Kawhi look in a full season with Paul George? Could the Clippers be contenders again next year? Who the hell's in Utah? What are the Nuggets going to look like with Jamal Murray back? Who's staying? Who's going with the Phoenix Suns? There's a lot of questions still to be said, but at the end of the day, Steph Curry's still going to be looked at. He's still going to, as one of the best players, best shooter to ever live, one of the best players to ever play basketball, generational talent, player of an era. Win or lose this series, I still think all of those boxes are still checked for him when his career ends. Steph Curry's, I hope he doesn't shoot lights out in this upcoming series, because that means the Celtics are probably not going to win it, but he has changed the way this era plays, and that's something that will be remembered no matter what happens in this series.
Oh yeah, and Dennis, before I go to you, we had this we had this comment from Dan here. Quick question: who's this guy at the bottom? You guys get a new host, or has Elton John been eating too many McDoubles in his free time? I'm assuming you know Dan, but
whatever.
But your thoughts, Dennis?
Who doesn't like McDonald's?
I mean, that's true.
Pretty good.
I'll always go for a Big Mac.
I wish they would bring back the snack wraps, though.
Oh, I didn't even know those left.
They're gone, yeah. My whole thing with McDonald's, though, is they get the McDonald's ice cream is the best.
But the ice cream machine's always broken.
Always broken.
I don't understand that. Like, how is your machine broken?
I have no... Because, wouldn't Dairy Queen's machine break then? Because they serve more ice cream than McDonald's.
Yeah, but
does.
I think Dairy Queen, though, has more machines. Like, I think they have, multiple dispensing options.
Maybe McDonald's buys theirs off of Wish.
Probably.
Etsy.
Yeah, there you go.
Who will probably never be a sponsor of ours.
But anyway, your thought about Steph Curry.
No, McDonald's ice cream, shit hot. And there's nothing better than a 20-piece McNugget. Wash it down with a large Coke. What were we talking about? I mean, would I be out of bounds if I said that I put Steph Curry on Kobe level?
No, I don't think you're out of bounds for that.
You think he's there already?
Absolutely.
He's getting close.
And
how about this?
How about this for a segue? If he's not there now, he's gonna be there when the Warriors win the series 4-1.
Okay, so you want to segue into this predictions already?
You like that? Well, because I don't know what else am I going to ask. Steph Curry's great. And I think that's stupid that they say he's got to win one more. I mean, what the fuck? I mean, the guy's already done enough.
No, but if he wins this one and they make it back next year, I mean, they're going to mention it again. You got to kill time somehow in these 3 days off.
True.
I mean, is it cricket? Is it cricket going on or something? Can't you talk about that?
I mean, for the people who know cricket, maybe. I mean, me personally...
Now we got Saban Jimbo in Major League Baseball. Yeah, let's talk about Curry's legacy.
I was going to say, me personally, I can either talk about how the Phillies are just as depressing as every other Philly sport.
Oh, man, those guys
are
brutal.
Or I can talk about Steph Curry, which is a lot more fun for me. So, there's not too... we haven't hit that sweet spot that you and I talked about last week, Dennis, with the training camp starting for football and fantasy football drafts happening, all that kind of stuff.
I hate this time of year when the playoffs end, which I hope it goes 7 games, though, because I just want... there's nothing better than just sitting in a chair watching basketball game on a Sunday night or a Saturday night, playoffs, you know what I mean? So I just hope it goes 7 games. But then it's going to suck because then there's nothing going on. The only thing that's going on is baseball, and you got to wait until September before football starts. But then you're getting teased, right? It's like some chick wearing a short skirt or something. You're sitting there. That's July because you're you're starting to get fired up because football's coming, and then you got to wait 5 weeks.
Warren said, or we can talk about making left turns all day.
That NASCAR's not bad.
I mean, I've heard going to an actual NASCAR race is crazy because people just drink all day and get trashed.
And BYOB.
True.
You're not. They really don't go there. How much of a 200 lap race can you watch before you're shit faced and you pass out?
Probably like 5 laps.
I'd be like 10
First
hot
5,
dogs
last 5.
Deep, 10 hot dogs deep, throwing down Old Mills, whatever the fuck they serve there, and
Anyway, I agree with you guys that Steph Curry is already in the greatest conversation. Like, I already put him up in the point guard conversation with Magic Johnson. Like, the top of the top point guards, I have Steph Curry already there. He changed the game of basketball. He made kids shoot terrible threes and turn their back thinking they're going to make it, and all these kids in AAU brick it all the time, and their coaches get pissed. And it's all because of Steph Curry. Like, the man literally has changed the whole game, changed the way we shoot threes, changed the way that, like, people even approach practicing the game, because now it's like, if you can't shoot threes on a consistent basis, it's almost like you can't really play anymore unless you are a center or something like that. Yeah, exactly. Like, we talk about centers that can't shoot as if they're complete garbage. Like, you got Rudy Gobert, who I always talk shit on all the time. Has multiple defensive player of the years, everything.
I feel like the 4 position has really changed. Because you know that, remember back like 10 years ago when Greg Monroe and Andre Drummond were teammates?
Mm-hmm.
And everyone talked about how they have like this generational front court and how they're going to be so difficult to match up against because if you miss a shot, they're going to get the rebound. Next thing you know, I think Greg Monroe is now in the G League and Andre Drummond is, probably going to be hopping around a couple different teams these next couple of years. I don't know what his next contract is going to look like, but if you're a 4, like the Paul Millsap, what the heck? Who's the Fareed? That type of role is gone.
Oh yeah, I forgot about Kenneth Fareed.
You're either a shot blocking, high rebound, paint protector, Robert Williams, Rudy Gobert type guy, Bam Adebayo, or you're that 5th guy that can add facilitating and shooting abilities.
Yeah,
it's crazy.
That's why basketball is so fun now, though, because Dirk is the one who kind of introduced that sharpshooting 4. You know what I mean?
True.
And then Steph Curry changed things in terms of more emphasis on the 3-point shot. The pace of the game has increased, but what is so great about basketball now is there's more emphasis as well on like matchups. There's more emphasis on game planning. No longer are things, which goes back to our All-NBA team point from last week about how we were saying they need to get rid of the positions. But, you have guys playing center who would only be a 3. You got guys, small lineups. It's just such a chess match all the time. And that's what's so intriguing about it is that coaching matters now because you need to know. You can't rely on just superstars to win all the time. Sure, it helps, but now you're starting to see the emergence of adequate game planning, good decision-making when it comes to matchup, resting guys, things like that. So that's what's so fun about it.
Oh, I agree. And, yeah, Alec, like you said, the 4 has definitely changed. The 5 has changed. Pre-Steph Curry, pre-Dirk, Jahlil Okafor probably would have been like the best big in the whole league.
I haven't heard that name in a while.
Exactly. Post that, now in this era, Okafor is literally like playing in China now. Like,
he was on the bench for 2 seconds.
I remember that. But yeah, like that has been like also the legacy, like you said, of Dirk. He's the big one that did it for 4s. But the legacy of Steph Curry, like you don't see a guy like Dame pulling up from 30 feet when he had 10 seconds left against OKC or whoever that was. You don't see that.
I remember that, yeah.
Before Steph Curry. Because Steph Curry did that. Steph Curry was pulling logo 3-pointers. It's just his impact on the game has been insane. The championships, the MVPs, the one was the unanimous MVP. He's already done plenty to be considered a great. So it's dumb that people are actually saying he has to do even more. So
he's one of those he's a once in a lifetime guy.
Exactly.
You got 8-year-old kids shooting threes at the park now instead of because they want to be Steph Curry. He's a game changer. He's already there in my opinion in terms of his legacy. He doesn't need to do anything else. He already has multiple championships. He's the best shooter ever. There's not going to be another person who's a better shooter than he is ever. You're just never going to see that thing. You're never going to see it again.
Agreed. So
at least before the robots take over.
True. China already has one. They've shown it plenty of times. So that brings us to you. So you said the Warriors 4-1?
Yeah, the Warriors are just too good. I just think the Steve Kerr's a much better coach. I think they have the experience, obviously. The Celtics don't have the experience. They don't have a lot of guys who have been in this type of position. So, yeah, I think they're just going to get exposed. I don't think they can keep up.
And you had Steph Curry as Finals MVP?
Yeah, absolutely. You can't go either him or Andre Iguodala.
Okay.
The second was a joke. It's a bad joke. I'm running out of jokes.
For all we know, he could all of a sudden get Finals MVP again.
Hey, it could happen. It's happening.
Yeah. Alec, what do you have?
So, yeah, the Celtics have had three pretty tough tests ahead of them. I don't know if Brooklyn was the toughest, but, they played a Giannis. They played a Jimmy Butler. Now, yes, this is the first fully healthy team they're playing, and they've had to travel like crazy recently, going from Miami and now to San Francisco to play this series. But, the Celtics are a very good defensive team. And, if they could have Marcus Smart stay healthy for a full season, play on ball with, at least be someone who can contain Steph Curry, that's going to be huge. And, when you look at the Celtics or look at the Warriors, they go with a 5-man lineup a good majority of the game, where Draymond's playing the 5 and Wiggins is playing the 4. So, there's got to be situations where the Celtics can, take advantage of them playing a small lineup. The Celtics are a big team. Jaylen Brown is bigger than pretty much anyone in their backcourt. If they play Jordan Poole, he's bigger than Klay Thompson too. You look at Marcus Smart, he's significantly bigger than a Steph Curry, even though Steph Curry can shoot over Giannis for all we know.
No, it's not. We've seen it.
Yeah, exactly. He shot over Gobert at times. He's literally an absolute monster. Smart's going to have the most difficult task of any player on the team. And there's no way of stopping Steph Curry. It's containing Steph Curry.
Alec, can I just bring something up to you that you made me think about, though, is that Robert Williams, right? Ime has been very mysterious about revealing his condition, revealing what his workload's going to be. In Game 7, he played 15 minutes.
Something like that.
You know what I mean? You need a guy like that. Marcus Smart, he says Marcus Smart is fine, but he hasn't really looked fine. Yeah, he plays and everything. So I don't necessarily trust that the Celtics are healthy either, because I don't trust. Ime had Williams available for Game 7 in the previous series against the Bucks, and he didn't see the floor once. Same thing, Game 7 against the Heat. Played 15 minutes after playing 26-27 in each of the 2 games before then. So I think they're just without the depth, because they don't really have anybody that Draymond Green can play center. And the reason he can play center is because he's not the biggest guy. He's big enough. He's a big guy. But, we saw what he did to Jokic. I mean, he did a great job kind of containing Jokic. There's only so much you're going to contain him.
Yeah.
But he did a great job locking him up for the most part and kind of neutralizing it to make Jokic as least impactful as possible. So Klay Thompson's a good defender. If they can get Otto Porter back, if they can get Gary Payton back, if they can get Andre Iguodala back, who hasn't played in over a month, get that neck thing. But if they could just get him for defensive scenarios, give me 5-6 minutes a game. We need you when we need you. Gary Payton, if you can get back into the starting lineup and play defense like we know you can, these are Otto Porter is a great player. He just can't stay healthy. But Otto Porter Jr. was a great player a couple of years back. He was averaging 17, 18 points a game. It's just his feet suck. But this is a team, though, that is just deep as shit. And with the Celtics, I don't believe a word Ime Udoka says. I don't think they're healthy. I think Robert Williams is going to be severely limited on what he can do. He's probably heading for another surgery again, for all we know. And, yeah, that's it.
Yeah, if they don't box out in this series, and they give those shooters extra opportunities, it's going to be pretty ugly pretty quick. They got a team rebound, and they can't let Draymond take over in those situations. Draymond's a great rebounder. I expect Al to get a ton of minutes in this series because of the injury to Robert Williams. I don't really think Tice is going to play that much. I expect a lineup we're going to see a lot in this upcoming series is Smart, White, Brown, Tatum, Horford. Because he's going to match up against Curry, Poole, Thompson, Wiggins, Green.
That makes sense, especially if you can put Tatum on Wiggins so that he's not working as hard as the other guys on Clay and Steph and everybody. So no,
but the problem is when you put White in the starting lineup, then you're very limited.
He's not going to start.
Where you can. Oh, well, you just.
I just think we're going to see those five on the court a lot in this series.
Yeah, but even so, if you don't have Robert Williams, right, you're gonna have to slide Al Horford into the 5, and then Grant Williams will play the 4, and then you'll have Smart, Brown, and Tatum to the other 3. But if even not having Williams available, even for an extra 15 minutes or whatever, it's still gonna make Derek White play more. And then after that, where else are you gonna go? You Grant Williams will be in the starting lineup. And then you're not going to be able to depend on Daniel Tice. You're not going to be able to depend on Pete Pritchard and, Naismith or whoever the fuck else that they can possibly throw out there. It's not going to work. 4-1.
I could see Grant Williams being thrown in on some small ball situations. I could see, even just Robert Williams and then Tatum into 4 and stuff like that. Against
that Warriors lineup though. They have 5 guys that can pass and shoot. If Horford's playing the 5, the Celtics can have 5 guys that can pass and shoot as well.
True.
So, if the Celtics go cold and have those stretches where they go 3, 4, 5 minutes without scoring, they're screwed.
Right.
Because the Warriors
especially against the Warriors.
If they're hot, they can just pile on the threes.
Oh,
and there's going to be games in this series where they do it.
Here's the thing. You shut down Jason Tatum, you're shutting down the Celtics because nobody else is consistent enough to be reliable.
In this series.
Well, he hasn't been consistent enough, though.
My biggest issue with Jaylen Brown is specifically last series, when Tatum was hot, he was hot. When Tatum was cold, he was cold. And there's going to be obviously stretches where Draymond is covering Jason Tatum.
Oh, yeah.
There's going to be moments where we need Jaylen Brown to be the best player on the Celtics. Not the whole game. If the Celtics are going to win the series, Jason Tatum is the best player on the court. Because there were moments in every series where he was. And if that doesn't happen, they're not going to win.
Sorry, honey, I'm fired up. But here's the thing, though. With the Warriors, even if Steph Curry's playing like dog shit, Wiggins has played well for the Warriors for the most part throughout the year. Klay Thompson is almost back to where he was. Jordan Poole's should have been the 6th man of the year. He's fucking incredible. So you literally have so much more in terms of consistency and guys who can score. The Celtics don't have that outside of Tatum and Brown. Tatum more so than Brown. Al Horford can get hot, but he also had those games throughout the postseason where he had 8 points one game, 9 points another game. You know what I mean? So Marcus Smart is not consistent. If he takes way too many shots, he can miss a bunch of shots.
Oh, yeah.
They're fucked.
True.
The only team since 2014 to be above 500 against him in the regular season. I know that means nothing going into this series, but they have put up good battles against them in the past.
Yeah. I was going to say, no one's saying that Golden State can't put up offense. I think it definitely does come down to the fact.
I'm going into the series expecting it to happen.
Right. I think it comes down to the fact, is Boston going to show up or not?
Exactly. I mean, I don't see this series going 5. I really don't. I think the Celtics are almost too good for it to go 5. I'm worried about the beginning of the series because they're traveling a lot, but it's 7 games.
Mm-hmm.
I think the Celtics win at least 2. My prediction is Celtics in 7, but every series I've heard why they're going to lose. And how the other team's opposing star player is, I mean, people are starting to give Tatum the respect he deserves, but I mean, he's gone Durant, Giannis, Butler.
Yeah, but those were all individuals. Those were all individuals. Giannis, there was nobody on the Bucks who were capable of doing anything. Drew Holiday didn't show up. He struggled offensively. When you look at, the Nets are complete dog shit. Durant and Irving. Outside of them, you don't have anybody. The Warriors are the most consistent, the best constructed team in the league. Nobody's as deep as the Warriors are. So that's where the problem is, because the Celtics, and I know, their record against the Golden, but think of how many games that the Celtics played against the Warriors during the regular season where Klay Thompson missed a bunch of time throughout the last couple of years. Kevin Durant missed a bunch of time when he was on the Warriors with that Achilles injury. Steph Curry probably missed a couple of those games. It doesn't matter. The regular season doesn't matter. All you got to do is make the postseason. I don't care about any of that other stuff. The Warriors are a playoff team. They have the experience. Sure. The Celtics do not stand a chance.
So, Alec, you said Celtics in 7.
Correct.
Who's your finals MVP? Tatum?
It has to be Tatum. I mean, they're not going 7 games if Tatum doesn't go off.
Okay.
And if there's matchups where it's Wiggins-Tatum, I expect him to take over the game.
Oh, yeah.
If he can't beat Andrew Wiggins is much, much, much better now than he was a couple years ago. I still think people think of him as the Timberwolf version of him instead of the version he is right now with the Warriors. But, I mean, if they don't exploit that matchup, I mean, he needs to. When they're playing small and it's Wiggins-Tatum, Tatum needs to take over the game.
Oh,
and he's going to have to because that's the lineup we see the most with the Warriors. Looney will get his minutes. What's up?
Go ahead, Alec. I'm sorry.
When you look at the way they distribute their minutes, 30+ minutes goes to those 5 guys. So it's certainly not going to be easy.
If I were the Celtics or the Warriors, if I was Steve Kerr, which I'm not, I'm much better looking. But if I were him, I would easily just lock up Jason Tatum and take my chances with everybody else. Because you're not going to get 7 games of consistency out of Marcus Smart. You're not going to get 7 games of consistency out of Al Horford. Robert Williams might not even play. And if he plays, he might get 10 minutes a game. Grant Williams is not going to have that 7-for-9 effort like he had in that game 7 or whatever the fuck he shot that game from 3-point line. So you're not going to get that. You lock up Tatum, which you could put. There are a lot of guys. If Otto Porter's available and he could play and he could do some work on Tatum, he could limit him better than a lot of other guys could. So, True. And Andrew Wiggins, he's not the Minnesota guy, but I like him better now in Golden State than I did when he was in Minnesota.
Oh yeah, that's what he was saying too, and I agree with that. Yeah.
All right, sorry, my ADD.
No, you're good. But no, I mean that's definitely a strategy you can try. You can definitely try to throw everything at Tatum and see what happens with the rest of the team. That's definitely one of the game plans you could go for. But I think at this point too, the Celtics are one of the better defenses that Golden State has seen. So it's definitely gonna. I do think that the Celtics are gonna put up a pretty good fight. I also see it going more than 5, but I think it's gonna be Warriors in 7. And I think that Klay Thompson's actually going to be the Finals MVP, just because I think there's going to be a lot of attention going to Steph. Whenever Steph's not on the court, I see a lot of attention going towards Jordan Poole and things like that. And I see Klay Thompson kind of being that, that like stress relief valve where he's just going to pour in anything that he can and get the attention off the other guys. So, I do agree, though, that Golden State seems just a little, little deeper, a little better coached, a little better consistency-wise than the Celtics. But I do see a path where the Celtics could possibly eke out a win here. But I still see Golden State as the better team.
It's going to be a hell of a series.
I can't
I
wait.
think the
I'm
Celtics are
looking
ready.
forward
They've
to it.
played. I think the Celtics are ready. I think the Warriors are the better team, but I think the Celtics are ready.
I mean, let's not fall in love too with the Celtics, right? I mean, when you play the Detroit Pistons, as much as
I knew this was going to
argument.
come up at some point.
You're good because you played the Detroit Pistons 10 times. I think they played the Pistons 10 times. I felt like they were playing the Pistons every night. So if you're going to play the Pistons, I mean, you're playing teams like the Pistons, the fucking Knicks. I mean, yeah, your numbers are going to look better.
I mean, both those teams actually beat the Celtics this year.
I understand
weird.
that, but what I'm saying is that they're, when you, it's not like they're putting up hundreds of points. They're not good teams.
Yeah. No, I hear you. But I think that's it for us, unless you guys
Alec
have
needs to
anything
come
else.
back. Alec needs to come back.
I'm down.
You got to come back. Maybe next week we can discuss how the finals are going, and by that time the Warriors may be up 3-0. So
I hope not.
We'll definitely see it, but it's definitely gonna be an entertaining series. So, Alec, thank you again for joining us.
I appreciate you guys having me.
Of course. If you want to plug what you got going on, I know you got your YouTube channel, so if you want to plug that.
Yeah, man, you can find me on Down the Block Sports. I'm on YouTube only. Feel free to give me a subscribe. I think last time I checked, I'm at 902. I'm about 98 away from getting to that 1,000 mark I've been trying to get to for a while. So if anyone listening would like to subscribe to my channel, please do so. But you can find all of my content there, Down the Block Sports on YouTube.
Awesome. And we already have it. I know for those watching on YouTube, we already have it in the description below, and it'll be in the description of everything. So make sure you check that out. What were you going to say, Dennis?
I was going to say, did you want to plug your OnlyFans too?
That is the OnlyFans.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. But no, thanks again, Alec, for joining the show.
problem.
Always great to have you. We'll definitely have you on, if not at the end of the finals, definitely somewhere in between, because we'll definitely have to break everything down as our local Celtics guy.
Oh, yeah, whenever you guys need me, man, just let me know.
For sure.
Come back
But
next
that
week.
is-
I need a week off.
That's fine.
Oh, you say you don't need me?
Yes. No, I'm just kidding.
Fine.
But that's it for us. Thank you, everybody, for watching. If you're watching on YouTube, make sure you subscribe below. Hit the bell for all the notifications. We go live at all different times of the week, so definitely hit that so it lets you know when we're going live. We're also on Twitch. Our Twitch channel is just The Atlantic Files, as we are everywhere else. So make sure you check out that. We're everywhere you get your podcasts, Spotify, Apple, Google, everywhere. So make sure you check those out as well. Thank you, everybody, for listening. We'll catch you guys next week. We are the Atlantic Files, the #1 podcast on the #1 division in the NBA, brought to you by the Underdog Sports Podcast Network. We'll catch you guys next week. Peace.